Currently, the only one making a big enough stink about the whole FIA rule situation is Max Verstappen, and as race fans, I think we need to back him up, because with all our voices together, I think some actual change would happen. Let's talk about the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. We gotta talk about it lap 1. Piastri had a better start than Max Verstappen. That is proven on telemetry, that is a fact. The run to turn 1 isn't particularly long, but it's enough for Piastri to edge ahead and claim the inside line. Also, Verstappen had no room, which is a fact. He had to cut across the curbs, cut across the corner, and end up ahead of Oscar Piastri. The incident was reviewed, and Max was handed a 5-second penalty for gaining an advantage off track. Now, the next issue is everyone and their mother thinks there's some kind of screenshot FIA rule connoisseur steward. We actually don't know the rules the FIA used to make their determination. The document the FIA used talks about a sporting regulation under the section 33 called driving. Drivers must make every reasonable effort to use the track at all times and may not leave the track without a justifiable reason. Should a car leave the track, the driver may rejoin, however may only be done when it is safe to do so and without gaining a lasting advantage. That is all. The rest of it is such an insane gray area that we're fighting without knowing what even the rules are. Let me explain. In the sporting regulations, it says nothing about an attacking, defending, or even defining what an apex is. They do operate under driver guidelines, which are supposed to be published as part of the sporting regulations. However, there's such back and forth on them according to the race media that they haven't been officially published yet. The media has kind of surmised what these guidelines are and what the FIA has done comparing other race results and penalties and things like that. So these are the 4 maybe guidelines the FIA used to determine what was going on in that situation for either a penalty for Oscar or for Max. Was Piastri's front axle aligned with Max's mirror? The answer is yes. Was Piastri's car under the driver's control, or was he just yeeting it aimlessly to make Max get off track? Yes, it was under Piastri's control. You also cannot deliberately push your competitor off. Now that's where an argument is, right? Did Piastri deliberately do it? The argument that the media is saying with these guidelines that may be from the FIA is that Max was side by side with Piastri. He was voluntarily there. And lastly, you have to keep your car on the track, in which Piastri did. He wasn't exceeding track limits according to the FIA. And you might be thinking, Ashley, that's ridiculous. And you know what? I agree. There is no clarity on rules because we don't even know what they are. And it's so frustrating to see people fighting and getting nasty online when we don't even know what we're fighting against or with or what the rules of the game are. And the racing rules were actually changed this year, more so talking about the defending driver, if they should be leaving space or not, than the attacking driver. However, again, they're not in the sporting code. We don't know what they are. Now, Max Verstappen, when asked about the penalty, said, "Anything I say, it might get me in trouble." Some fans threw that away as he's being petty, he doesn't want to talk about it, he's being a baby. Now the problem is that this whole incident has overshadowed that comment. He is making an excellent point. The FIA has stated that drivers cannot speak badly about stewarding decisions or the race stewards. By badly, it doesn't even have to mean cursing them out. He can professionally say, "I don't agree with the call," and that would get him into trouble. That is the issue he's trying to say. The fact that people are calling him petty or annoying or whatever is so frustrating because he's trying to help drivers and race fans. Because I would love to hear what he thought. Maybe he'd be a little heated, but he'd be like, "Hey, this is what I was doing, this is what I thought. McLaren, hey Piastri, what did you think? What were you doing at that time?" And we have a nice back and forth, and maybe we can help race stewards decide what to do in the future. And I feel so annoyed that we're caught up in this like Piastri versus Verstappen thing just because it is Piastri and Verstappen, as opposed to realizing that the FIA has not posted any clarity of the rule set, so we're arguing amongst ourselves over nothing because we have no idea what we're even judging against. And 2, that he's trying to make a statement because the FIA won't even let him speak freely on it if we make a big enough hoopla about what the race rules are so we can keep arguing online and having actual points, intellectual points. And 2, making sure that the drivers can speak freely about their own fucking sport. Maybe some change can happen. And it is so frustrating we're fighting amongst ourselves instead of the FIA. Now let's talk about McLaren because they obviously had a really great weekend. Oscar Piastri now leads the World Driver Championship with 99 points. Lando Norris right behind him with 89 points. and Max Verstappen right behind with, I believe, 87 points. And George Russell's not too far by, so I would say it's a four-way battle. Now, something people also wanted to note is that Piastri and Norris both now have 5 Grand Prix wins. Now, we cannot compare their entire careers against each other. Norris has had, obviously, a longer time in Formula 1, but also different car, different competitors, a lot of different things happening there. The Q3 incident, which unfortunately got him qualifying to P10. But during the race, that climb from P10 to P4 was so clean and well executed. Yeah, it was his job. Yes, he has the best car, but even with dirty air issues, obviously people are not going to let him pass easily. It's just not a free door to walk through. He still did it. Interesting to note that Piastri radioed in when Norris was ahead of him by 2.46 seconds, saying that he felt Norris's dirty air affect his car. So that just shows to me that this is going to be the Dirty Air Championship 2025. And I know we've talked about it previously, but hearing these radio calls is really, really obvious. There's nothing we can do about it. The reason we have so many dirty air issues is because of all the aerodynamic innovations that are helping the cars with their downforce and etc. Pirelli went a step softer for this race for Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, and even then, the degradation wasn't even that bad. Ocon lasted on 47 lap hards, Charles Leclerc with 26 laps mediums. They barely lost any time to any tire deg. And we can't keep having a race with just one stoppers. We need to have some strategic variation because the dirty air is causing issues for passing, so we need to do that with strategy and in the pits. For Miami, Pirelli will be going a step softer, and in Imola, they will be introducing the C6 compound, which is going to be the softest Pirelli compound available to teams. Interesting enough, veteran fans may remember the Rainbow Pirellis, which were 7 types of slick tires denoted by color and the names ultra hard, hard, medium, soft, super soft, ultra soft, hyper soft, I believe was the order. Of course, no one ever used the ultra hard, so we really had just 6 compounds to play around with. Now, the thing is, the average fan got really confused because the softs would be considered hard for the weekend, and then the super softs would be considered medium, and that kind of naming convention didn't help anybody. So in 2019, they changed to what we know now as a C1 and C5. So now we're adding a C6, which is going to be great, and all the Rainbow Pirelli fans can rejoice even though we don't have the same fun colors anymore. And Pirelli will take this information from Miami, seeing how the tires last in the heat, as well as a C6 compound in Imola, and see if they have to do any drastic changes. But however, Pirelli's been doing actually a really good job making really great tires because no one wants to remember Michelin a la Indianapolis. It wouldn't be a race weekend if we just didn't talk about Ferrari. Unfortunately, Lewis Hamilton just did not have a good race, according to him. Lewis Hamilton did say, well, clearly the car is capable of being P3, so Charles did a great job today, so I can't blame it on the car. Lewis is having a hard time adjusting, which is really unfortunate. He's been having this issue ever since the ground effect cars came into play. I wouldn't go the extreme rage bait route of that he's washed, because he's clearly still getting that car up into top 10, top 5 positions. They're hoping that one, he can just bounce back quickly and get closer to Charles and obviously not be outdone by Carlos Sainz. And then hopefully by 2026, new regulations will favor Hamilton's driving style. And now for our Wookie watch. And now for our Rookie Watch 2025. I have Kimi Antonelli P6, which isn't terrible, but Mercedes did say this was their worst weekend so far, which is crazy to say considering they're doing a lot of teams would wish they were them. They had a lot of issues with their tires overheating, and the fall off was just dramatic and instant. And I like to say that it's not Pirelli's fault. Mercedes was one of the few teams, or I think one of 2, that actually did no upgrades or bring any upgrades to the car, which was a choice. Isaac Hadjar, he said he was a little disappointed because he had a great race and he's annoyed that he only got a point because of it, but a point is a point, and we're going to take a P10 for Isaac. He was stuck behind the Williams ERS trains, whatever Sainz and Albon were doing during the race, and I'm really proud of him for bouncing back after Australia, and he had that terrible shunt in social media, and Helmut Marko, who should never speak again, just probably didn't help him, but he bounced back. He's doing well, and we love a point, and hopefully one day that will turn into points. Unfortunately, out of the points for Liam Lawson, classic V-carb, they did a different strategy than Hadjar, and it just didn't work out. P13 for Oliver Behrman. He had more pace than Esteban Ocon, but still nothing in the points for either of them. Haas said they're really pleased with how he performed on track. P17 for Jack Doohan. Took an early pit stop behind the safety car to try something different, and it just didn't work out. And unfortunately, P18 for Bortoletto. He was so focused on his battle with Liam Lawson, he almost got into a argy-bargy with Fernando Alonso, who joked about it later. that Bortoleto will be served dinner flying home with him. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Williams and double points. Carlos Sainz says he finally feels comfortable in the car, and I think that's awesome. He's obviously integrating with the team well. I think it was in Australia where he went behind the pit wall, was helping the strategy with Alex, and it just shows how comfortable he is with Williams, being able and encouraged to be doing that. And he says he's finally clicked with the car, and that's what Williams needed. They're currently now in 5th place with 25 points, with Haas with 20 points. So that battle is going to be fun to see back and forth. And now, believe it or not, Lance Stroll actually set a new record, the most Q1 exits ever from a driver. He was then quoted saying, "Put the McLaren drivers in a Sauber for 10 years and they'll have the most Q1 exits. It's car dependent." I think blaming solely him is extreme, but also just blaming the car is a little extreme. His teammates have had 47 Q1 exits to his 75. They've had 74 Q3 appearances to his 40. So you can't say it's just the car. I am excited to announce that I will be attending the Miami GP. In my next Miami GP review video, I will let you guys know the full details, but I have free general admission tickets, so I'm excited to show some behind the scenes, talk a little bit about more what it's like to be at the Miami GP. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you for the Miami Grand Prix review.